Welcome to Biscuits and Tea with JP. Today's guest is Liz MB, and we're going to be discussing her transition from recruiter to Wellbeing and Employee Engagement Consultant. But before we get started on that, we're going to find out what tea Liz is drinking.
PG tips.
And if she brought any biscuits. Hovis.
Mainly because I ate all the custard creams.
Oh.
So those would be the biscuit of choice, but I ate them all.
Custard cream's good. That's a good old school biscuit, that. I like it.
Classic. Yeah.
So you've got PG tips. And how do you have it? Weak, builders to strength?
Strong, white, no sugar.
I like your style. No sugar's good. And I've got Yorkshire tea, because I'm supporting the Northern crew. And I've got a, what is it? A pistachio and almond cookie.
Nice. I tried Yorkshire tea. I couldn't get on with it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, not a fan.
I love it. Right then, so whilst I have a little dunk, first question, right? So you've transitioned from recruiter to Wellbeing and Employee Engagement Consultant. Bit of a change, a huge change, in fact, completely different career choice, especially as you've been in recruitment for 11 years. So what drove that decision and how did it come about, Liz?
So I guess, I think it was mainly due to COVID-19, to be honest. So the recruitment market that I was working in, so I was hiring non-sales roles for recruitment companies, mainly focusing on sort of L&D and internal recruitment roles. So roles that I've either done myself or worked really closely alongside. And so the market completely tanked. So there's nothing going on. And I was just had so much time on my hands to work out what I wanted to do and have a think about the future. And I don't think you get that opportunity very often where the whole world's kind of on hold. I attended a Tony Robbins UPW 3-day event, and from that I realized that I really love studying and I really wanted to do a master's, but something was holding me back. I don't know what it was. I kept telling myself that I shouldn't study or I couldn't study. So I made the decision to study business psychology, and I got a few offers through and accepted one at Loughborough, which I started in October last year. And the second module that we did was wellbeing at work, and it just felt like home. It was everything that I was really passionate about, things that were really important to me. I've experienced poor mental health and mental illness in my own life, and so to be able to support organizations and employees with their well-being, it was just everything that I wanted to do. So it's a bit of a tricky one when you've got a business and you've got a career and you're successful, to then kind of palm it off and hope that you're following your heart is going to work out and it's the right decision.
Very brave.
But yeah, so far so good. I'm loving it.
It's a very brave decision. And you mentioned there that you kind of followed your dreams, and your mental health has in recruitment has been affected. Do you think it is the recruitment environment that affected your mental health? Because it is very target driven. It's very stressful, isn't it? And you've always got people demanding more of you.
Yeah.
Do you think that's had an impact on it over the years?
Yeah, I think it's twofold. I think you've got the organisations, how they're set up. I think recruitment generally as an industry is quite stress inducing. I almost feel like it's geared up to create mental health problems because of lack of support, sometimes lack of structure, expectations, pressure, hours. If you look at stress management and what causes burnout, the recruitment environment is exactly aligned to that. So I think it's partly that, but I think it's partly the individual as well. I had panic disorder, I think 12 or 13, so from a young age. So I was always susceptible to anxiety. This progressed to generalized anxiety as I got older. And so I think anxiety and recruitment, it's really hard to do them simultaneously. I did it for, say, 11 years, but it's a battle. And it was just a battle I didn't want to take on anymore.
tiring.
Yeah, I was just exhausted. I
Yeah,
was on antidepressants for a period of time. And I think, what I learned was that fundamentally you can stick a plaster on it, you can be given medication, but you need to address the root cause of what's creating anxiety or causing problems in your life. And
yeah,
now I feel like I'm in the best possible place just with regards to my mental health. And I've stopped drinking, I've given up caffeine, I exercise every day. I've just completely restructured my life. And I think that's what you need to do. You need to look at everything that impacts you in a negative way and reassess it. And it's a choice whether you want to live with anxiety or depression or addiction or these things that can impact you, or whether you want to take control. And I don't want to make it sound so simple, or sort of dismiss anyone who finds it really hard to cope with these things. But I don't know, I've just struggled for years and years, and it just creates a strength
yeah,
inside that you just plow through, and you can achieve anything. And that's what I think. Although the perceptions of mental health and illness can be sort of weakness and all sorts of negativity, the strength of character that required to get yourself out of the pit, to achieve, to turn up, to carry on, it's quite remarkable.
yeah. No, it definitely is. I mean, I can relate to some of that. I mean, slightly different. You know, I've been in recruitment for 10 years myself, and um, I my way of coping was always just to block everything out and not open up. Um, and then, you know, last year happened, and a bit like yourself, you know, you have a lot more time on your hands. And I've started a business, and I'm working on my own. So I had a lot more time on my hand, and you know, those things that I blocked out for many years, and the stresses and whatever else, you know, was lurking in the background, kind of bubbled up. So I had a bit of a journey last year myself, so I can really relate to that. And much like yourself, it's the best thing that's ever happened
Mm.
to me, because I had to address a few different things, and I've learned to speak openly and share my thoughts and feelings with people now. And you know what? It's liberating, and I feel like a new man for it.
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
Great, isn't it? It's a
Yeah.
good feeling.
But
It's a good feeling.
I have so much appreciation for all the bad things, the negativity, the challenges, the people that I've had to encounter in life. I'm grateful towards them, because yeah, you just got to be, because we're on this path, we're on a journey in life. You just got to make the most of it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Liz, I'm the same as you. I look back now, and you think there's stuff that you think, oh, that wasn't a great experience, or
Mm.
that wasn't a great time. But you know, looking back, it all the dots are
Yeah,
connected. Steve Jobs said this, like, you know, look back. When you look back, suddenly all the dots are connected, and you understand why you're here.
yeah,
You know, why you went on that journey.
yeah.
And you know, looking back now, I can see that. So yeah, it's a good feeling. So big change, Liz. Big change for you then. So from recruiter to the well-being position that you're in now, it's I can only imagine. I mean, I don't know, but you're going to tell us. But I can only imagine it's completely different to what you've done previously. So how has that transition been, and what are the major differences?
Yeah, I think initially what felt a bit weird was probably the lack of pressure.
Yeah,
Because recruitment is so target driven and outcomes focused, and CVs, interviews, placements, money, it's so focused on that. When you have a job that doesn't have that sort of accountability, it's just really freeing. And so I finish work on a Friday, close my laptop, and then I don't think about work again. And I haven't had that in my adult career. I've never been able to switch off from work, which I think
yeah,
again was, I don't know if that's an anxiety or a me thing or a recruitment thing.
yeah.
Um,
Recruitment.
well, you're always on, aren't you? Because you're always expected to be on. And if you care, you tend to always respond, be available, etc. So yeah, it's really freeing and just really liberating. I have had a couple of um, times when I have felt out of my depth because I'm doing something that I've never done before. But I think again, that's where the growth happens, and you just got to learn from it. And when I'm feeling vulnerable or like I don't know what I'm doing, I just end up talking myself around, and just being compassionate and just saying you can just give it the best that you can give, really. So yeah, really freeing, really chilled, just a nice life. I feel like I'm living. With recruitment, I felt like I was existing. So yeah, I not that I don't remember the last 10 years, but it's just such a blur of sort of pressure and stress and escapism, sort of holidays, drinking, shopping. How can I get away from this negative feeling or just being unfulfilled? I think, yeah, and I think a lot of people experience that.
Yeah,
and I used to hire recruiters, and so I'd always be talking to people about being unhappy in recruitment generally, and I think there's a huge problem in the industry around sort of engagement and happiness levels, and yeah, I think more needs to be done. It's a great career, but there are some, I think, problems with the industry that need to be looked into. Just around sort of progression paths and opportunities, and this expectation of what good looks like, pressure, performance. I think, yeah, it's a bit outdated as well, especially with sort of remote working and looking at some of the organizations that were so keen to get everyone back in the office. The way of the world is changing, and I think the recruitment industry, unfortunately, is really slow to respond to a lot of things. But the businesses kind of leading the way and doing what their clients are doing, they're going to be the ones that can be really successful.
Yeah, going to thrive.
Yeah, absolutely.
I totally agree with that. So what's been the major differences then between the two jobs? Because I can imagine there's quite a few, isn't there? Other than, you're not target driven, but the fundamentals of the job are completely different, right?
Yeah, I think you just have an ability to be creative. So I'll be given sort of projects or problems that I need to create solutions for. And it's just such freedom of creativity where I guess with recruitment, you're kind of boxed into working a certain way in a certain process. It's very process driven. So you just got that complete freedom. And just if there's a necessary neurodiversity, something that I'm really interested in, because I had an ADHD diagnosis last year. So if I want to lead on neurodiversity, there's that opportunity. So there's just so much freedom to focus on areas of interest and deviate slightly from it's still within employee engagement and wellbeing, but you might have a JD and this is what we want you to work on, but then you come up with some other ideas. This is what I'd like to do. So I think there's just so much freedom and autonomy, which again is something when you look at sort of burnout, autonomy is so key to not being burnt out. So yeah, it's just a different life.
It's amazing to hear. I mean, there's going to be a lot of people that over the last 12 months have either lost their job or they're in a job that they don't really like and they've done it for many years, and they're thinking about changing careers and doing something different, but they it's a big step, isn't it? It's a really big step for a lot of people, because you're giving up a comfort blanket, right? You know what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. Even if you don't do it, you know what you're there to do. Whereas if you do something completely different, like you're doing at the moment, which is really brave, it's brave, but it's very rewarding looking and listening to what you're saying. So what advice would you give anybody that is thinking about a transition but is really on the fence?
Yeah, I think it does. It does all start in the mind. And as you say, it's a complete comfort zone. So I could do recruitment with my eyes closed. I don't have to put much effort in anymore. And so I think with that, that's bad for you as well. You need to be challenging yourself. And so I think you just kind of need to dig deep and be really honest and accountable to, are you being fulfilled? Are you reaching your potential? Are you being challenged? And just get a sense of if you're really ready. Because again, sometimes people are scared to leave a company, let alone a whole new career. I don't know if it's an ADHD thing, but I love new. So new is really exciting to me. And so new jobs, new projects, new challenges. I kind of thrive doing that. So if I'm honest, I didn't think about it too much. I applied for the role. I knew I was going to get it. And then I got the job and I started. And I didn't really, that sounds a bit arrogant. I didn't really spend too much time thinking about it or dwelling on it. But I was just, you've got to back yourself. And of course, you're going to have fears and anxieties. And I had a confidence coach that I started to work with because I thought it would be a problem. And I think what we did with a confidence coach was looking at my identity about who I was and what I was about. And I think once you're really clear on who you are, you can then accept yourself and just back yourself. So it's kind of a weird process building your confidence. But yeah, definitely some soul searching and thinking. So I had this predicament where well, it wasn't really a predicament. I was thinking when I was looking at doing a mental health podcast, I was thinking, do I want to do this, or would I prefer to do this and not get paid, or work in recruitment and earn 100 grand a year? And I was like, absolutely, work for free for a year. And so that was the reason I decided. I thought, do I want to carry on getting paid for this, or would I prefer to spend my time on something I'm passionate about for free? And I think Gary Vee says something like this, or Simon Sinek. If you didn't get paid for your job, would you still do it? And I think it's really important to question yourself on that.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Take the money away. A lot of people are in recruitment for the money. What's left? Yes, you've got success, achievement, kind of ego-driven feelings of I'm a winner. But if you take that stuff away, what are you left with? And for me, I was left with nothing. So it was quite easy for me to decide. And I think just knowing I was so passionate about mental health and well-being, it was an easy decision for me, really.
Yeah, and you know what, I think it's been a strange 12 months and difficult for a lot of people, but there's always positives, isn't there? And I think maybe the positive from the last 12 months is that people have got that opportunity now to kind of reflect a lot more, discover who they are, and make changes if they want to.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you just got to do it.
Yeah, you just and not think about it too much, because stuff will always go wrong. Like, you'll always fail. There's always risk. If you spend too much time sort of dwelling and thinking about that, then you'll never do anything. And I think you've also got to, and I had to do this, you've just got to kind of swallow your pride a little bit and just think, it doesn't matter what anyone thinks. It doesn't matter who judges me. It doesn't matter what people are going to think. And just, follow your heart really a little bit.
No, I totally agree. I think that's a good point, right? Because we live in a world where everybody's worrying about what everybody else thinks, when actually the people that only matter is, well, your own opinion of yourself, and then just that small circle, really, you know, like whether it be your partner, your parents, or the friends that you do love, you know, that are like your proper friends.
Yeah.
You know, and outside of that sphere, nothing really matters.
No.
Does it?
And you've got to live through your decisions. And I used to, historically, I'd always run big decisions past loads of people and get their opinions. But you've got to be the one that lives with it. So as long as you're okay with it, it's okay to soundboard, I think, a couple of people. But yeah, I'd say I'm probably more risk taking than I thought. But yeah, just do it. And the feedback I got from the interview was, I was the least experienced but the most passionate. So when you've got someone with no experience who's just singing the praises of what they want to do and why it means so much to them, if you can articulate that, I think experience, qualifications, they don't mean anything, but energy, passion, enthusiasm, attitude, you can't fake that, and you can't train that either.
No, exactly.
So that's something else to think about.
No, definitely. You've mentioned ADHD a couple of times. So, I mean, you know, just in the last 12 months, I've spoken to quite a few adults that have been diagnosed with it. It seems to be, you know, something that's getting diagnosed a lot easier these days. So how did that come around for you? So
I was in semester 1 at uni, and I found that I was just re-watching my lectures. They were recorded, and I just wasn't quite grasping. I know it's master's level, so it's slightly higher level and more academic, but I just wasn't quite grasping the lectures or really understanding what was being said. And I was just getting really frustrated. And it took me back to 10 years ago when I did my undergrad, and just how hard I found uni. I'm one of these people that I'm not super intelligent. I just work really hard. And so I was putting in so much graft and just working so much harder than all the others, and just getting a bit bugged by it. So I spoke to one of the ladies there, who I was actually talking about my anxiety in comparison to her daughter's anxiety, because it was really similar, and her daughter had ADHD. And she said it sounds like you might have ADHD. And someone shared on LinkedIn actually a few weeks before an ADHD iceberg. And I've never seen something that reflects me more than this picture. Just around things like sort of all or nothing, black and white thinking, quite impulsive, choice paralysis. There was just loads of things that were just kind of ticking loads of boxes. And yeah, I spoke to my parents, and they were like, no, there's nothing wrong with you, because they're of the generation that sort of ADHD, autism, things like that, it's a problem, and you wouldn't admit it, or it's something that you don't really discuss. They're like, no, nothing wrong with you. Got my school reports out, and it was just classic, easily distracted, always distracting.
Like me.
If she applied herself, she'd be really good. Just the classic, there's something going on with sort of focus and attention. So yeah, I booked myself in, and yeah, the guy was just did the assessment with a psychiatrist, and he was just like, yeah, I'm really sorry, like, you've lived with this for your whole life. And so yeah, so it was a good moment, just to know that my brain is the way it is. And so it's something to do with like dopamine levels. And I've always, from a young age, I've always known that I've got an addictive personality. So I have to kind of rein myself in with things. And yeah, just explains so much around my mental health, the addictions that I've had, the challenges that I've faced, and why I find kind of studying and working hard. And now I've learned how to manage it. I'm the happiest, most productive. I'm in the best place I've ever been. And that was from that diagnosis. And again, I think it comes to, you've got to understand who you are, what makes you, and then how you bring that person to the world, and how you need to adjust and adapt.
Yeah. It's not a bad thing, is it? I mean, that's the thing. People get worried about being diagnosed with certain things because they think there's negativity around it, but there isn't, is there?
No.
It's just something that you need to maybe make some adjustments with, or manage yourself in a slightly different way to get the best out of yourself.
Yeah. And it's like anything. If you had an athlete that needed to make an adjustment because of an injury, it's almost like that, where you can still perform at an exceptional level, you can still achieve. And I think even when you Google ADHD, it's like a death sentence when you read what it is, and they call it the double-barreled something because it's got deficit and disorder in, so it's just a super negative word, and the association of it. But I think if I'd known I had it when I was young, it would have limited me in my thinking, and I would have thought like I'm damaged or there's something wrong with me. But as I got the diagnosis when I was older, I could understand it and then kind of use it to my advantage.
Yeah, I get that. What are the advantages then?
Just like super creativity, hyper focus. So when if there's really boring tasks that I have to do, which I find hard, I just kind of, I don't know how I do it, but I weirdly get myself in the zone, and I just get in this like hyper focus mode where I can just smash through stuff at a real pace. And just with creativity, just, are we talking to someone, or we'll be talking about a problem, or we're looking for solutions, and just my brain, because it thinks so fast and is so creative, I'll just be coming up with all these ideas. What about this? What about that? And I feel like I've got a really solution focused brain because of it. Yeah, those are the known benefits, but I'm sure there'll be more.
Yeah, ticking them off. interesting. So, Liz, you know, we've been speaking for quite a while, and you know, before you started your new job, you're obviously in recruitment. So, if we think back, right, 6 months ago, so you've been in your new role for 3 months, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's think six months back when you were still a recruiter. Okay. What have you learned about yourself in the last 6 months? So from recruiter to, you know, the wellbeing position you're in now. What do you think you've learned about yourself?
Probably that, excuse me, probably that I haven't backed myself enough
Okay.
over the years, and sort of questioned my capabilities, and probably my confidence to some degree. But just that, and I've always believed you can create exactly the life that you want. But there was always a bit of a caveat that other people could and I couldn't. So I
Yeah.
believe
Okay.
it's possible, but I didn't believe it was sort of possible for me.
Yeah.
But just, yeah, I just feel like you've got one opportunity at life, and I think we've all got purpose. I firmly believe that. I think some people choose to find out their purpose, others don't, and that's each to their own. But
Yeah.
just, you've really got to tap into what your purpose is, because you have this weird kind of assurance that everything will work out okay, you'll be successful, you'll make it. It's when you're kind of aligned to doing what you feel is meant for you, everything just sort of falls into place. And if there's challenges around sort of confidence or competence, you'll just find a way because you're so driven to make success of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely to back myself, and probably more than anything, and I think over the last 18 months, when my mental health has been at its worst, it's now at its best. And so from prioritizing my well-being and my meaning and how I spend my time and my days has made such an impact, like such a positive impact. So
Okay.
off the back of that, my marriage is better, my relationship with my family's better, my finances are better, everything just sort of falls into place once you align yourself with something that you're meant to be doing.
Okay. It's quite amazing to hear.
Yeah.
So some people might be listening to this and thinking, well, you know, what are you doing on a daily basis to manage then your mental health that's had such a great impact on the rest of your life? So they're thinking, you know, you meditating for 5 hours and having, you know, ice baths, or what is it, you know?
So what, you know what, when I was, and I think it was maybe in June, July of last year, I was in an absolute pit of I'd just come off antidepressants, and I had extreme suicidal ideation. And
Yeah.
it's really hard. I've had suicidal thoughts sort of as a child and when I was much younger, which was very different to this sort of compulsion and obsessive thinking. And it was
Yeah.
almost, my brain just sort of got to this comfortable place of thinking about how to kill myself and things like that. And I was really struggling with life. And I just set myself 3 goals, which were to get up at some point in the day. I didn't sort of put too much pressure on time or anything like that, but get up, get outside for a walk, and just get some water. Because again, sometimes food I'd either overeat or undereat, but water was just the key to life. And so
Yeah.
I kind of started that baby steps for a few weeks, and then slowly built up on that. And then now, and again, I don't think you can. I think when people think well-being, mental health, it's like, right, meditation for hours, exercise, like it's so much and it's so overwhelming when you're in a bad place and you need to turn things around. You need really small, tiny goals, habitual goals that will help you. And so now I have more sort of rules around bed by 10 o'clock every night, walk for half an hour to 45 minutes before work every day, 2 litres of water, make sure I get out at lunch every single day. And it's those kind of sort of well-being principles that have they just add up and just create just happiness, health, and just a really good place.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't heavily meditate. I do now and then. I don't drink alcohol and I don't drink caffeine. And I think those two play a huge part, but it's super basic of exercise, fresh air, water, and sleep. And once you've got those basics right, I think you can then build up on them.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's like most of the fundamentals for life, right? If you do all the basics, you're normally all right, aren't you? You know what I mean? But then when you start missing certain aspects, things, you know, don't go so well. So that's good advice there for anybody listening. So I think you kind of touched on it, Liz. You kind of said it earlier, but it really sounds like, based on the conversation that we're having, that you've found your purpose in life.
Yeah, I think I have. And my old employers will know that I was always talking about my purpose and trying to find it, and that it wasn't recruitment. And they used to try and convince me that it was. But yeah, no, I think I have. And it's an incredible feeling. And I'd like to help. I'm thinking about a business later on around sort of coaching on well-being and meaning, because I think meaning's so important. And you've got to find out why you're here, and what gifts you can give to the world. Sounds a bit hippie, but
I get what you mean. Look, there's going to be some people, and there is some people, and maybe the vast majority of the population are happy just to do their thing,
go to work, get paid, come home. That's life.
Whatever. And then there's other people that, you know, think maybe there's a little bit more to life, and that's when that's when there's a disconnect, right? Because if you're yearning for something more, but you're just doing the norm, that's when you become uncomfortable with yourself, and it can affect your mental health, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So with you then, and you found your purpose, do you think, you know, did you kind of stumble upon it, do you think? Or do you think that actually everything that's happened throughout your life was always going to lead to this point?
Yeah, I think it's probably more destiny than anything. And just, the challenges, trials, tribulations that you have to go through. If I hadn't experienced mental illness, poor mental health, then I probably wouldn't be on this path. So yeah, fate, destiny, whatever it was. But yeah, just super thankful and appreciative of the challenges. And for whatever comes up, I'm ready for it.
Yeah, it sounds like you are. It really sounds like you are. So, what, you know, as well as the work you're doing, there might be some people listening to this that feel, you know, like you'd be a great person to speak to. You'd be somebody that would be able to offer them some support and guidance. So I know that as well as the full-time job you've got, haven't you got some other kind of little sidelines to do with mental health?
Yeah, so time is slightly restricted at the minute, working full-time and studying a master's. So really limited on time at the minute, but in the background working on the mental health podcast, and well-being coaching around individual well-being and organizational well-being. But they're more kind of side projects than focus for now. But always happy to chat to people and connect regarding mental health and well-being. Love it.
Okay. All right, cool. Well, look, I think we've covered everything that we set out, and some more. You've been a great guest, Liz. It's been great speaking to you. So if anybody listening to this does want to reach out to you, and wants to pick your brain on some things, what's the best way to contact you?
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn,
and more than happy to give kind of advice to businesses that are thinking about doing well-being. I still think consider myself a bit of a newbie, but happy to give any tips or pointers from what I've picked up so far.
Great. That's great, Liz. Thanks very much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks everybody for watching. I've been your host, JP. And if any clients or any candidates out there listening need help with cloud or data related recruitment, then the same as Liz, contact me on LinkedIn. Thanks very much, guys. Cheers, Liz.
See you later.
Good to see you. See ya.